Well, this was a big one, wasn't it? This was a big decision.
All right. Hopefully. All right. All right. This is. Hope everyone's had a good morning, night, wherever you are. Um, and this is going to be a bit of a serious one. I'd be talking about constitutional stuff, freedom of speech, as well as in-depth stuff about the adult industry, porn stuff. This is for 18 plus only. Some of the stuff is going to be adult oriented. So I edited it. I tried to edit it for only 18 plus people on Kick as well. So I want to, I put that in the titles, 18 plus. Let's see here. Why is there a blue screen on that? Let's see. There is no problems. Hold on, I gotta edit my layout here a little bit. There we are. got that. I need to be able to see everything here. And need to make sure I can do that. YouTube's a little bit hard with that right this second. Kick isn't giving you as much of a fuss as but anyways, just need to edit everything here. Anyways, let's just get going. Like I said, 18 plus because I want to really go over my experiences with, in all industry reporting and stuff like that and everything. Constitutional law stuff as well, and how much the courts really don't seem to care as much about a lot of our constitutional rights as I see that some people, it's divided on theology and politics. And that's not the way that our Constitution is supposed to be running. Where it has to do with firearms, where it has to do with freedom of speech, or executive powers, etc. We have courts being run by political differences, stuff like that. Let's get into this.
An amazing decision, one that we're very happy about. This morning, the Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for.
I do need to put usual disclaimer, I'm not right wing, lefty, left wing, or whatever. I just have my own brain, I'm my own person. I don't believe in political BS of either side. With that, let's move on. There's stuff that
record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed,
I have to say, and some of us have been over, I've been over this lots of times, others have. Obama was called the deporter-in-chief back in the day. He got rid of over 3.4 million illegals, and nobody said a damn thing. Nobody whined, nobody complained. There's a video of Obama where he said, you're going to be in the back of the line, you're all going to learn English, and you're going to speak it, you're going to earn your way. If a Republican is doing it, he's branded a racist and everything else. This is what I don't like, is the bullshit of politics and what's, the good of the country and everything. Now, I have known people that, have been illegally here and they've earned their way, etc. And there's a right way and a wrong way to get into this country. And I'm sick of illegals, taking, all this stuff, getting all this stuff, take our resources, and then they mess up the streets, take over the streets, for entitlement and stuff like that. They take our jobs as well for lower wages, etc. They're getting free health care. They're getting EBT food stamps, Social Security, or other types of stuff and everything. And we have politicians as well that have been making money off of this, and they want to get those extra votes for their side, to have district lines redrawn for their stupid political cause. And so they're letting all these illegals go in, and meanwhile we have human sex trafficking, we have fentanyl problems, drug problems, all this other stuff. And so, yeah, it's ridiculous how political some of these federal judges that went against him, Trump, were not even born in this country. They're born in another country like Canada or India or whatever, and they feel like this should never happen. Never ever should a person from their country be able to become a federal judge. Never. Never. Anyways.
With the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect, or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades, and we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies, and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants, because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today.
Long story short, what you're basically hearing is that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Trump because Trump had basically signed an executive order that said that we needed to end birthright citizenship in the United States of America. And now, of course, I'm going to do some review videos of some misinformation that people crying about and all of that, and so that'll be released later on today. But basically what has happened is that he did an executive order to basically kill birthright citizenship, because there were a lot of people that were coming in the country that were using this loophole to then get citizenship for their children. So, for example, the Asian community is huge, China in particular, for doing that, and that they were looking to get their children dual citizenship. So what they would do is they would come over here under the guise of just coming on vacation, but in reality, they were really trying to make sure that they had their babies here and they were pregnant. And so what they would do is they would come over to the country and then they would have their children here on American soil. And then they would take their children back to China, or when they would come back or whatever, their children would then be granted citizenship
Yes,
in the
that's
United
what
States
they
of
do.
America because they were born on American soil. Similarly, the same thing was happening when it came to children of illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants that came over here in the United States of America. Parents would have children here in the United States of America, and that's why you see so many people on social media saying, "Yeah, my parents came over here undocumented, and they deserve
I
to be here
do.
because they've been here for a long time." They never filed to get their papers. They never actually went through the immigration process. Some of them were actually committing additional crimes and so on and so forth. And so you had a bunch of people that weren't really from this culture talking negatively about the United States of America, while not at the same time adding value, and they feel entitled to be here because their parents illegally came here and they had children here in the United States of America, but those children are now granted citizenship because their parents, first generation parents, came over here to finesse the system in order to take advantage of it. The birthright citizenship was, let me blow this up a little bit. Birthright citizenship was for, as Trump indicated, descendants of slaves. So people that were sold over here into slavery, and once they then were freed, they had nowhere else to go. So
Listen, I also have to say this, all right? I know people that came here illegally and stuff like that. Then they got everything straight. They became citizens and everything. I know these people personally, Latinos and stuff like that and everything. And they did it the right way. They earned their own way. My cousins that are, from Mexico and stuff like that, and everything, they're very powerful lawyers, etc., as they were, and everything. They had citizenship and everything. They followed the laws and became lawyers, etc., and everything. So, and our ancestors, my ancestors, a lot of our ancestors that came here, come through a better process. You have to prove that you could make your way and you couldn't be sick. You couldn't have an illness that could get our people sick, or you were denied, entry, from Ellis Island, stuff like that, where millions of people came through, immigrants and stuff like that, and they were fully documented and stuff like that. They were vetted and everything, and there's no such thing as EBT food stamps. There's no Social Security. There's no such thing as health care back then in the day either. That there wasn't. And, our ancestors, made it and stuff like that. And, for, cousins, people are related to, tribal stuff like that, way back and everything, ancestry and stuff like that. They're already here and everything. So, and you got kids, you don't know who all their parents are. Up to 500,000 kids, missing. And don't know, they're not documented and stuff. That there's a huge problem with the human and sex trafficking, and how the cartels and gangs are making money off of people, that have crossed the border. And if they would have done it legally, the cartels and gangs wouldn't be able to make money off the trafficking, etc. So
instead of them being deported or sent back to wherever it is that they came from, none of these children had ever known anything except for the United States of America, because slavery had lasted hundreds of years inside of the United States. So much so to where they were actually bred here at the slave owner's request. And let's be clear, there were black slave owners too, right? So when you think about the fact that none of these children or none of their parents even had the choice of whether or not they wanted to be inside of the United States of America, and then their ancestors and generations before them Once those children were then free people inside of the United States of America, there needed to be a pathway to legal citizenship. And one of the ways in which they did that was birthright citizenship. It was meant for descendants of slaves. It was meant for the children of slaves. So now when you see all of these people arguing, including your favorite politician sitting there and saying, well, no, Trump is wrong. No, they shouldn't end birthright citizenship, is because they came over here on a program that wasn't meant for them and they felt entitled to it because they had been taking advantage of it for so long. Yeah. But in reality, they didn't deserve it. It wasn't meant for them. And now, because we have no more people that need to be legal citizens as a result of being brought over here as slaves, right? Brought over here as your parents or grandparents and your parents before that were slaves, because we no longer have a need for that, it needs to be abolished. So when you see people that are complaining and saying, oh my God, I can't believe it, Trump, bad man orange, same old, like you always see it, basically you're seeing people speak either out of ignorance or they're voluntarily ignorant to the idea that this should have been gone a long time ago and people needed to close this loophole, because you can't have people coming over here illegally, not even brought here illegally, but coming over illegally through their own will to finesse the system and then get legal citizenship for their children and then feel entitled to the same things that you should get without going through the legal process of becoming natural citizens. It's not right. And so Trump is closing the loophole. He's doing the thing that's right for America, and that empowers us.
The thing is also is that there's with the Supreme Court, this is only like in some states to limit this to a certain extent. So you have other places, you have the states that are going to amend governors that don't give a shit about Americans, well, fuck things up. They say birth sanctuary state doesn't apply here, etc. And you're gonna have more fights in the court system, etc. I'm trying to look up something here from Brack. I think he probably did that long ass time ago. So judge denies request to detain Kelmar Abrego Garcia, that piece of shit from MS-13 that is here illegally involved in human trafficking. Let's see. Where is I'm looking for, because I want to get a lawyer on here and everything. But what Trump's been doing is really within his power of the executive branch. And, everyone was fine when Obama was doing it. He got rid of, about 3.4 million illegals. And he told them you have to learn English, etc., and everything else. To be in the back of the line, you have to earn your way like American citizens, and you have to become American citizens, and stuff like that and everything. Anyways, that's me. Let's see here. Alligator, Alcatraz, how nice, awesome. I want to see what he says as well.
I'll pull up and show you guys what they said about this, because this is in my opinion, a total victory. Massive fucking victory.
That's from what I hear on the news. That's limited to some jurisdictions and some states. So I do see more judges coming, other federal judges and stuff like that saying that I see this going back to Supreme Court. I believe that there should be an amendment. I believe there has to be an amendment to the Constitution, and that Congress has to vote on this. He has executive authority for some stuff, but not over the totality of this. You're talking about this has to be an act of Congress by amending to the Constitution, I believe. I believe so.
Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done.
Yep.
And really, it's been an amazing period of time. This last hour, there are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president.
And I think this is another component, is that if you take a step back and you think about it, doesn't it seem problematic that one judge in one area can overrule the entire popular vote of the presidential election? Like, this seems like a very obvious power.
The thing is, this isn't about. This is about holding the executive branch, the president, no matter which side. Okay, if he was a Democrat doing this day, it was a Democrat like Obama that was doing this wouldn't be a problem. This wouldn't have even been in court. This wouldn't have happened whatsoever. This is all political in every way with this. So, I mean, and you're holding the president hostage and stuff like that. And this is, any president can do this. Has the authority to do that within the executive branch. This is about separation of powers, and none of these judges had a right to do what they do, holding president hostage and stuff like that. Now, there's plenty of stuff that we're not going to like about, certain presidents or a president doing stuff. There's stuff that I don't like Trump doing on some stuff. This one, I do, and everything, but for now, but the president has, under executive branch and presidential powers, the right to do these things, no matter what side of the aisle, whether Democrat or Republican. They have these king type powers under federal law, so.
Or imbalance. It's clearly, it should not work that way.
Stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the
That's what I think is funny, is all these people said Trump was a threat to democracy, but in fact they were. This is the biggest threat to democracy you can have. When you have a democratic election and then the person that wins tries to implement the policies that they ran on, and they constantly get handicapped.
In cases before them, these judges attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges...
What they try to do is create a dictatorship that where only these piece of shit judges say, hey, we can do this, only we can dictate law and order, stuff like that. And, illegals where the king cannot go, and, about due process, which, immigrants don't have. They don't have due process. They have immigration court. That's what they have, is they have courts with an immigration judge. They don't get due process. That's not the way that works under the Constitution. But you have these dumbass lawyers trying to tell people and immigrants, illegals, say, you do have due process when they don't. They don't. And so they're laying out their asses about this and stinking the place up and everything. So, I mean...
Just disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States. He or she could block that policy from going into effect, or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system.
That's clearly what happened.
This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century.
Wow.
Together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century. Me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex
Weaponized
problem, and they made it
obstructionism?
very
Yeah.
simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people.
Based.
Thanks for this
It is
decision,
based 'cause he also
and
doesn't
thanks
like
to
those
this decision,
as well.
we can now
Yeah,
promptly
so-
file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined
I don't
on
either.
a nationwide basis.
Yeah, so-
And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country
Right.
on a vacation. This was
I've been waiting on this for a while.
Is an exploit.
I've been waiting on this for a long time. Oh,
in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and
That's
it's so
right.
clean and so obvious.
it was.
But this
That's
lets us
literally what I said. Yep.
Lava
The
said
thing
that.
is that, again, Trump is a scammer. He can immediately see a scam. Yeah, it's an obvious fucking scam.
go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it
Writing
wasn't meant
speeches.
for that reason.
You
It was
wouldn't
meant
know.
for the
He doesn't read
babies
them.
of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined.
And the thing is, with me talking about some stuff like this, I know some ladies that I know, like a lot of lady friends I know in the adult business, and the X-ray business, stuff like that. Some of them are to be pissed, I think, but this for me is about right and wrong. It has nothing to do with politics, because I hate politics and politicians. No matter where, what side. This is about sex trafficking, human trafficking that is happening and is rampant. About Americans that are not getting their due fair share because of illegals. They've been kicked out of their homes, apartments in some states like Aurora, Colorado, and other states. You can't get into hotel rooms, you can't have hotel rooms, etc. Gangs taking over, Trinidad, and other places, having guns, shooting people, killing people, rapes, murders, etc. I don't mind immigrants coming here as long as they do it legally. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get better, make sure you're not a criminal. That's what this is about. And this is what I want them, this is what I want everybody to know with me. This is where I stand on it. A lot of our ancestors did this. This is how it was. It's earn your way and everything.
On a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other
How the fuck did that even happen in the first place? It's so ridiculous.
priorities of the American people.
Thank God.
We have so many of them. I have a
Holy
whole list.
shit.
I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she
I
can talk as long as she
transition
wants, because this is a
tomorrow,
very
by the
important
way.
decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible Attorney General. We're very proud of her. And as you know,
Except for
Todd
the
Blanche
Epstein
is with
files.
us, and we have
Not so much
many
with
others
those.
that work
Except for
on
the
this case
Epstein.
and
Yeah,
other
there's
cases.
something about the Epstein
And I think
files.
they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a
There's
few
stuff
words.
out there. I mean, why you guys cover it? What you guys cover it?
Thank you, President Trump.
What you cover it?
Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No
It's
longer.
obvious fucking export.
Today,
So
in the
obvious.
6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the
Thank
district
God.
court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These
Was
laws.
it Andrew Jackson? I forgot which president it was, where the courts try to get in the way and say the president cannot assert his presidential, his executive authority. And President pretty much said, screw you, I'm the one with the military. I'm the one with the troops.
Lawless injunctions gave
Not
relief.
only that, but it is within their executive, presidential authority. You're not supposed to have a dictator. No president's supposed to. Well, and I have to say again, there's stuff I don't like about Trump either. Just like there's a lot of stuff I hate about other presidents, like, buying out the, I don't know, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Let's just skip.
To everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal
Man.
judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions.
That seems a little bit problematic, you know what
It
I mean?
is.
Seems a little bit undemocratic.
Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide
out of
injunctions
5.
came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No
Remember
longer.
what I always said?
No longer. These
very small
injunctions have
percentage of
blocked our
people cause all
policies
the
from
problems.
tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other
Damn.
issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer. And on immigration, on a side note, today marks
Big W?
2,711 arrests on these terrorists and these gangs. Total arrests today with
2,000.
HSI investigations, and thank
Well, it should be more like 200,000. I mean, what? Obama, I'd say now about 200,000 or 100,000 by now. Just saying.
you, Stephen Miller. Thank you to Homeland Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels.
Stephen Miller?
No
Yeah.
longer.
That guy didn't fuck
no
around.
No longer. These injunctions.
I mean, when I was in jail and stuff, I knew some people from MS-13. They were right with me. I'm like, we got along, but anyways.
Have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a
Well,
bipartisan
2K per week,
problem.
yeah.
It has lasted 5 presidential terms, 5 different presidents, and it has ended
What's
today.
crazy too about this is that it happened right now, which means that they have 3 years to just go absolutely fucking hog wild. 3 years of them just being able to post whatever the fuck and do whatever the fuck they want. That's massive.
We will continue to fight for President Trump's policies. I want to thank the Office of White House Counsel, Dave Warrington.
should.
You and your staff
Yeah,
have
of
been
course.
incredible. Our Solicitor General's office, John Sowers, Sarah Harris, and Todd Blanche and Emil Bovey. Todd's going to say a few words because we've had another major ruling today on transgender books and some other great wins that we've had. But no.
Transgender books? What the fuck is wrong? Like, We have homeless veterans and people are thinking about transgender. Who the fuck is doing this?
This is the thing about transgender. I believe be who you want to be, but I believe that should only be actually for 21-year-olds, not 18, because people are just dumber nowadays. They don't have as much an education like they used to. Back when me and others went to school, and I sure was not that well educated either. And, you know, I've, even with some women I know in the adult industry as well, they say, you know, a lot of people, you know, don't get things up here until they're 21, and stuff like that. They should get into this stuff until they are 21. So, of course, some will say, hell no, and stuff like that as well. You know, I believe when it comes to I believe you 21, not 18, because it's just people's intelligence over these years has gone down a lot. Again, you know, I mean, if I had a friend that went trans in the 90s, and stuff. This is before all this other stuff happened, and stuff like this should not be. You should learn your sexuality on your own. You know, you shouldn't have, you know, the Bible, you know, teach you all this stuff. You shouldn't have, people that are religious, yeah, they're going to be pissed. And the other side's going to be pissed at me too, so that's cool. That's cool if both sides are. Is that they should learn themselves. They shouldn't be indoctrinated or brainwashed. And a lot of schools are brainwashing kids and stuff like that. To be honest, when I learned the most about sex from porn. It was not these stupid books that we had, you know, way back in the day. It was actually porn. That's where we learned, you know, a good amount of it was, you know, sex tapes, stuff like that and everything.
No longer will they have this
my
power
God.
in our country. It is the president's authority under his
How does this
executive
happen?
branch to do everything to fight for the American people, and he will continue to do that. That's why he was overwhelmingly elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Today's a great day for the rule of law. It's a great day for the Justice Department.
Let's hear it.
And it's one that's been a long time coming, and one that every American should have been waiting
stop talking
for
about transgender
with
stuff?
bated
Yeah.
breath. And so I echo what the President said and Attorney General Bondi, that the Supreme Court did a great thing today, not only
I
for
think there's been, let's see, I don't want to keep going on and on about, I guess.
this administration.
It's
before-
rage bait. They make mountains out of molehills. No, the transgender ideology stuff is not a mountain out of a molehill. It's basically a molehill that people are just fixated on. I know that it's a very small issue, but I would view it in the same way as I view flat Earth. The reality is that if I knew somebody believed in flat Earth, that would completely disqualify them, in my mind, from being a decision maker for anything else.
That's why I don't want to get too much into this, because he has his views, I have mine and everything, and I mean, people are saying what they want to say about me. I have to, you know, also worry about some ladies and know in the adult industry, because they're you know, some ain't going to be okay with it. And if it's one thing you don't do is talk about political stuff. And to me, it's not about politics. It has nothing to do with politics. It's about right and wrong and how people should be trying to teach you your sexuality and stuff like that. It's just that it really pisses me off how politics and religion just totally messes kids up with that. I believe that they should find their own sexuality, what they're attracted to themselves. You know, I'm not gonna go out and attack trans people or whatever, or it's just that, if you're going to be that way, you should wait until you're 21. Not 18, but 21. Because of the type of stuff you have to go through in surgeries and everything. So, with that, that's some other stuff right there. I just wanted to go through, let us see. I didn't get to the adult stuff that I think I've done. This is it right here. And this is something that I know quite a bit about.
Case they decided was a challenge to a Texas law.
Cases coming out of the Supreme Court. Tom, what else are we getting right now?
Sure. Well, the Supreme Court just decided one big case and punted on another. The one big case they decided was a challenge to a Texas law that basically imposed age verification requirements for people who wanted to access porn sites on the internet. The Supreme Court considered a First Amendment challenge. Basically, adults were challenging the law, saying that these age verification requirements infringed on their First Amendment rights.
I have to step in here. Because the fact is, it wasn't about so much age verification. It's about the fees. Each time you have to go through age verification, and this is something I want to put in the facts with this. This has nothing to do with age verification. Each time that person goes through age verification in these states, these piece of shit law enforcement people and everything like that tax and put fees onto these porn sites. And what it does is that it bankrupts these adult sites. If it was just about age verification, nobody would care. We wouldn't care about it. It has nothing to do with age verification whatsoever. This is about bankrupting them. And so this is going to make people want to do things underground. And this could be, like alcohol back in the day or whatever. People would have to buy, get stuff another way without porn sites. Another thing is that porn is protected under freedom of speech. Porn existed way before the Constitution was made. Okay, there are books, there are booklets that monarchies, royalty had, certain people had. They had pornographic material, etc. And, for these stupid right-wing bitches to say that it did not cover porn, yes, it did. We had founders that, did, had orgies, stuff like that. Benjamin Franklin had lots of trysts with lots of women. And this is the argument. And this is the reason why I have to get in here. And other people don't talk about this, but is that, and they don't realize that porn existed back, in way back, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, if not over 1,000 years ago. And, depictions and stuff like that. Yeah, stuff going back to the pharaohs, with art, pharaohs had, we call it pornographic. It's not, it's just art. But these dumbass religious pieces of shit pretty much want to take people's constitutional rights away. The founders knew about porn. They knew about, hate and so-called terroristic speech. And everything like that. They did not say freedom of speech with the exception of hate, terroristic, or whatever or adult pornographic speech. They did not make any exception or to the rule. They not in any way. And so you have these idiots, say, this is things that these age verification things are there to have these fees each time they go onto a site. There's a fee and it bankrupts them. This is about getting rid of porn, which is constitutionally, is protected. It is totally protected. I want to get to this from XBiz here. And the thing is, this is about, stupid. This is their stupid religious bullshit. This is not, when it comes to firearms or whatever, a lot of these judges do not know the Constitution, or they just don't care about the Constitution. They don't. When it comes to free speech, firearms, or etc. It just pisses me off. Let's see. Okay, so Washington, the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday issued its decision in Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton, Texas, striking a blow against the online adult industry by ruling in support of Texas. Yes, sons of bitches. Let's see. House Bill 1181 was passed by the legislature in May 2023, totally unconstitutional, and is a much augmented version of the Louisiana's age verification law and its many copycat versions in other states, which is unconstitutional. Free Speech Coalition, I believe, Free Speech Coalition has condemned the law as blatantly unconstitutional, which it is and a violation of First Amendment rights of creators, consumers, part of it of which is me. Okay, because I've done, so-called pornographic material, I've done that and everything. So the rights to creators, consumers, and platforms. Also bankrupting them with these fees each time they do this verification stuff. Okay? Let's see here. God, Jesus Christ, come on, work. The issue before the court was what standard of review should apply to such law, which aims to protect minors. Nobody's against that. Nobody is. Even though I saw stuff when I was a kid. When I was a kid, me and some other guys, we watched some stuff or whatever. We learned more about, of course, that's some of us when we were kids. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I don't give a shit. I don't. I don't give a fuck. Let's see. This law, which aims to protect minors, but process may burden adults' access to protected speech. Again, they don't talk about these fees or whatever. Which, I did that in a video, in a previous video, about how there are fees that are transferred onto these sites, which bankrupts them, they can't do business. That's what it's about, is really destroying, freedom of speech protected porn. Process, United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit applied only the rationale basis standard, whereas Free Speech Coalition, its fellow plaintiffs, and free speech advocates maintained that the highest level of judicial review, strict scrutiny, should apply. Okay. The Supreme Court declared instead that only intermediate scrutiny is required because House Bill 1181 only incidentally burdens the protected speech of adults, and that applying immediate scrutiny shows Texas law to be constitutional. The decision was 6-3. Justice Thomas wrote the opinion for the majority, with Justice Alito, Kavanaugh, etc. dissented. That's interesting. Let's see. Joined by Justice Jackson and Sotomayor. Okay, so House Bill 1181 has only the incidental effect on protected speech and is therefore subject to intermediate scrutiny. The decision reads, the First Amendment leaves undisturbed states' traditional power to prevent minors from accessing speech that is obscene from their perspective. That power includes the power to require proof of age before an individual can access such speech. It follows that no person, adult, or child has a First Amendment right to access such speech without submitting proof of age. One of the things that is not touched upon here, that is not, being talked about, is that how law enforcement and these stupid sites, including, you have, as it is bad enough, Google, YouTube, and other platforms, looking at what you're looking at, when it should be private. I'm not just talking about adult stuff. I'm talking about everything else, and they sell everything else. That includes, some of the stuff, they can look at your other files in your computer systems and stuff like that. They go through everything you're looking at on the web, everything. Of course, Congress doesn't do anything to protect us because they don't give a shit. They're protecting us, from, Google, YouTube, and these other companies about where we go, what we look at, etc. And it's not their fucking business, if we don't want them to know it, and everything. So, anyways, House Bill, let's see, therefore subject to a scrutiny for additional speech is obscene from. Okay, let me read this right. House Bill 1181 only has an incidental effect on protected speech and is therefore subject to intermediate scrutiny, the decision reads. The First Amendment leaves undisturbed states' traditional power to prevent minors from accessing speech that is obscene from their perspective. That power includes the power to require proof of age, etc. Yeah, I already did that. Without submitting proof of age. Thing is, I think that, this is about age verification. If it was, this wouldn't be a problem. Nobody is complaining about that. This is about the taxing, the fees, that each time you go onto these sites, that's what they do, and they pass it on to these porn sites, and it bankrupts them, and they can no longer do business, etc. This is also about how law enforcement and how they go through everything that people look at. That is totally unconstitutional, and that, the surveillance type state. So everything that you watch on these sites or other sites, it's already bad enough that our stupid government and, Google, YouTube has to butt their asses in and look at what people are looking at. That's already, should be illegal anyway. But, with law enforcement even doing that, it's bad enough as it is. The decision calls the petitioner's counter-arguments unpersuasive nothing that the contention of Free Speech Coalition, as well plaintiffs and other means of protecting children are more effective, and that children are likely to encounter explicit content on other websites due to HB 11A. I wonder if I have that. I got rid of that one thing on how the taxing goes when people go onto these adult sites, how their tax and fees are given to adult sites. And I said, no, I probably won't need it again. Let me see here. Let me see. 14th Amendment. I have, let me see, that's the UFO stuff. CIA John Brennan. Yeah, I no longer have it up there. The stupid Yahoo somehow took it over. Right? Let's see. Children are likely to encounter sexually explicit content on their sites due to HB 1181's requirements does not apply, since intermediate scrutiny does not require states to adopt the least restrictive means of protecting minors online. And this is where, I believed, I said, on the XBiz forums when I used to be on there, it's like, how there's a gaming ratings board for games and stuff like that, and they put their age thing of what's good and what's not. I believe that adult sites should be policing themselves. It should be law enforcement, because you can't trust law enforcement. I don't trust them. There's a lot of bad people, law enforcement. There's good people too, but there's bad people. And they don't believe in people's constitutional rights. What they want is a dictatorship. That's what they want. So, anyways, let's see. Industry of free speech. Allison Bowden, Executive Director of Free Speech Coalition, responded to the ruling, saying, as it has been throughout history, pornography is once again in the cannery, in the coal mine of free expression. I think she could have used better terminology, but that's... the government should not have the right to demand that we sacrifice our privacy, which this is about too, security to use the internet, etc. This law has failed to keep minors. It does. There are other sites that are not restricted. That there are other sites that have content that they shouldn't have on them. They've gone after Pornhub. There's stuff on that site that there never should have been. It has to be accountability for that. When there's underage stuff on it, that has to be, never should have been on there in the first place. Never should have been on there. Now, Europe, of course, the age was different, of course. Was that 15, 16, 17, something like that in different countries, etc. And of course here it's 18, so when you have those demographics and stuff like that, you're supposed to keep that out of the U.S. and stuff like that. You're supposed to have moderation for that, which they didn't really have, which they should have had, etc. But let's see, the government should not have the right to demand we sacrifice privacy and security to use the internet. This law has failed to keep, that is true, yet continues to have a massive chilling effect on adults. The outcome is disastrous for Texans and for anyone who cares about freedom of speech. Well, yeah, this is the thing is that they can't access this. I've had people talk to me, on the internet how they can't access these adult sites anymore because of this bullshit. They say it's about protecting kids, but there are other sites where they can access illegal content, underage stuff that shouldn't be out there, etc. and there's only certain sites where this stuff applies. Age verification goes through. That's the thing. This is all also about bankrupting adult sites. So let's see, I'll go disasters for Texas. Disasters for everybody in the country. And, for Europe, what's happening in Europe, there used to be a staple of free speech in Europe. I've been monitoring this around the globe and stuff, Australia, New Zealand, France, Germany, and how Islam has totally contaminated, and migrants have contaminated Europe over there, and wanting, their laws enacted and stuff like that and everything. Total cancer and everything. But let's see. Industry attorney Corey Silverstein called the ruling a major blow to the First Amendment, free speech, and the entire adult industry, which it is. Future challenges against laws like Texas age verification are going to have a difficult time moving forward. We're going to have to go underground, I think, because this piece of shit Supreme Court and everything else, God. Down the hell. Let's see. The court's application of immediate scrutiny versus strict scrutiny is incorrect. It is incorrect, but the Supreme Court has spoken. Fuck the Supreme Court. This decision will embolden states. Yeah, it has. Age verification laws into place, pursue enforcement actions sooner rather than later. The states that have been waiting for this decision to push forward with their own age verification laws won't hesitate to move forward. Some bitches. Let's see. Each and every website offering adult content products and services now has some challenging decisions to make. Let's go underground. Probably. Oh my God. Challenging decisions, to me should be consulted their legal. Definitely. Lawyers. Got go with your lawyers and stuff like that and everything. This really allows states to enact onerous age verification rules that will block adults from accessing lawful speech, curtail their ability to be anonymous, and jeopardize their data security and privacy, Mackey said. These are real and immense burdens on adults. The court was going to ignore them in upholding Texas law. They ignored the law. And they don't care because they're stupid religious or theological convictions. Industry attorney Lawrence Walters observed that in upholding the Texas law under intermediate scrutiny, the court applied a standard that was not seriously argued by any party to the case. That's true. There's a lot of different cases that. This is the things that they did not put in, that this is about bankrupting these sites. And this doesn't exactly protect minors. There's still other sites that is not being, have the age verification, etc. There are other ways to access adult content without, but let's see. Application of intermediate scrutiny to this type of law is an unfortunate development for the First Amendment. User privacy and the adult industry, Walters told XBiz. However, the court did not go as far as Texas wanted, or as far as the Fifth Circuit decided, by upholding the law based on rational basis test. Okay. Some age verification laws may go too far and fail the intermediate scrutiny test set forth by SCOTUS. Future cases will determine the scope of First Amendment protection of adult access to sexually explicit content under this new test. Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression Chief Counsel Bob Corn Revere issued a statement saying the wrong-headed, invasive result overturns a generation of precedent, which is true, a precedent, and sacrifices anonymity and privacy that we're supposed to have being on these adult sites. And data processing as well. Data breaches are inevitable all the time. How many will it take before we understand the threat today's ruling presents? Americans will live to regret the day we let the government condition access to protected speech on proof of our identity. Again, I'm for age verification as long as law enforcement and stuff like that, and they are taxing and putting fees each time you log into these places. And it's not bankrupting adult sites. This is not about age verification. If it was, there'd be no problem. We would be fighting against this whatsoever. Or if I, there. Okay. In her dissent, Justice Kagan declares in today's opinion, speech rights are pushed to the sidelines or entirely off the field. Texas law defines speech by content and tells people entitled to view that speech and that they must incur a cost to do so. That is it, the cost. It is the cost. Why did they not bring this shit up in court? About the cost that these fees put on adult sites. Why am I the only one that's put this? Anyways, it bankrupted them. So let's see, the sentence reads, that is under our First Amendment law, direct non-incidental regulation of speech based on its content, which demands strict scrutiny. I have to turn the damn cool air off, but all it does is freeze. Let's see. Kagan also argues that the court's decision departs from precedents set in past cases such as 1997's Reno, Janet Reno versus ACLU, I believe. Yeah. And Ashcroft, Attorney General Ashcroft versus ACLU. Writing for the majority, however, Thomas explains This apparent departure in part by loading. With the rise of the smartphone and instant streaming, many adolescents can now access vast libraries of video content, both benign and obscene. What is obscene and stuff like that should be more up to the individual, not up to a fucking court. Let's see, I'll see time, any place with the ease that would have had the unimaginable at the time of Reno versus Ashcroft. The stuff that I saw as kids, some of us seen as kids, let me tell you, what. Anyways. Let's see. Let's see here. So, Kagan warns that some individuals will forego accessing protected speech, adult content because of the requirement. Yes, exactly. And maybe from there to the world as a consumer of sexually explicit expression, the requirement to verify their age by using either government, that's the problem, government issue identification or transactional data, she writes, is a deterrent imposing a chilling effect. That's the thing, when it's government law enforcement that's doing it, they're looking into your data, they're going through all your files, and that's a huge problem. And when it's bankrupting the adult sites, and it no longer has anything to do with protecting minors. That's what it should be about, is protecting minors. I've been ranting. It's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing that you missed some. I mean, I'm ranting quite a bit and stuff. It's just okay with me, like I keep on saying. This isn't about, age verification. We're all for age verification. Different countries have different ages where you can view stuff and stuff like that. I've done stuff on the EU, Australia, New Zealand, other countries, UK, and stuff like that. If this was about age verification, me and other people in the adult industry would be behind this. And if law enforcement wasn't so much, this is about the fees that each time you go to these sites as well, to these adult sites, that it bankrupts them, which is why, Pornhub and other sites have had to shut down. And I wish they would have argued this in court. This isn't about age verification, though it should be. And I used to say on XBiz, and they kicked me out because I lost my Twitter. XBiz kicked me out even though I defend, the adult industry to a certain degree, to certain degrees, okay? I mean, there's good and bad in the industry, just like in our industry, in our type of work and everything. I'm not sure for anybody, but it's like I said when I was on XBiz, on their site, talking to people in the adult industry. The sites should from the get-go had moderation. They should have enacted age verification. They should have had moderators looking at what content, make sure it's not underage stuff. Yeah, it is legal. Yeah, it is illegal to lie to a cop. Yeah. You get hit really bad. Yeah, you do. If it's the FBI, my father said, don't fuck with the FBI. He said, do not mess with them. He didn't say, oh please, he didn't say fuck, because he said, don't mess with them. And he knew a lot because the FBI would watch my father and other people that worked at secret installations and that worked at top secret areas, right? Or secret programs. He said the FBI will screw you over. He said if you lie to the FBI, it's like they'll cut your nuts off, they go after everything. If you lie to police, no big deal as much. It's not that much of a big deal, with state. But you lie to the government, they go after anything and everything else. And everything, I've been through the system and everything myself. It's like, when it comes to the feds, they like to go through everything. What I wish these stupid, this is their fault. This is actually the adult industry, the adult site's fault. They had it fucking coming. They did. By not having their own age verification, by not moderating the videos, and making sure there were no kids. What do you expect? And now you have where law enforcement, is doing it, and they're looking at what everybody's looking at, going through, it's not just about age verification, it's about the hidden fees and the taxing that they do each time a person goes onto these sites. It bankrupts the adult sites and everything. And they like to say this is about the children, it's not about the kids. It's about bankrupting, get rid of adult porn and stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is the problem. And I wish they would have brought this up at the Supreme Court. And they did not. I've done some videos. This has also been on Twitter, X, where they talked to me about this and why the lawyers have not said anything. Bring this up to SCOTUS is beyond me. It's total incompetence. We're supposed to protect kids stuff. When I was a kid, I saw adult stuff when I was a kid. I did. No big deal. Back then it was the 80s, stuff like that or whatever and everything. Now it's a lot different. It's a lot different, right? And guys and everything and girls stuff, it's just it's part of psychology. It's about, just being curious, right? And, I know a lot of things are different now and everything like that. But kids do need to be protected from law and stuff at the same time. And it's just like, the usual way the Constitution reviews works is to figure out the right standard here. Strict scrutiny, House Bill 1181, which is from Texas, and let that standard work to a conclusion, she states. It is not to assume a conclusion and prove House Bill HB 51. I was just gonna. The thing is, I have to say this. Now, I've already said this, I have to say it again. There's other sites people could go to that is not regulated or not known to them that people could go to and see what they want and stuff. Let's see, a state may not care much about safeguarding adults. I don't like where they go about safe, because then they're making themselves look bad, and I believe they need to have better terminology. Though they do need to safeguard our privacy, our data, and stuff like that. But let's see. So a state cannot target that expression as Texas here any more than necessary to prevent from reaching children. The court's ruling is expected to impact implementation of state age verification laws around the country as well as other pending litigation. Some cases that were put on hold anticipation. California is one of them, as back as California could be. There's some, but let me see here. They're on hold, including Texas, Indiana, Florida, can now be expected to advance similar proposal states. Let me see. I want to see about, if I go to a black screen for a minute, let me see here. Let me see here, I have to, this is this one. Oh, where is it? I need to move this totally out of the way here. I need to, is this it? Get this here. And there's stuff that I don't like about Free Speech Coalition. There's stuff that I do. There's a lot of stuff that I could do on cops violating civil rights and where they should be held. You know, I want to do that because I see both sides where law enforcement become pussies and some of them, and there's a lot of cops that I believe should be executed for what they've done causing death to people. That's something I'm going to have to do another time. I know where to get this stuff and everything, and I want to get with that. Let me see here. Boom, boom, boom. Where is it? I need to make sure I have the right one. And let me see. I need. I'll tweak the ladder. Be right back. And bye. And let's see. Oh boy. Hold on. Can you see everything okay? Is it glitchy for you? Or can you see everything okay? I hope. Let's see here. I hate how long it takes for me to be back into the fucking picture. It takes forever. Let me see here. Alright. Tell me if, hopefully it's not glitchy, because I want to have like conversation with this. Osborne Free Speech Coalition. Let's see here. Should be able to on a screen there. Let's see. This is about, what's happened today. Like I've been saying throughout history, I mean, there's been pornography is back as far as the Pharaoh. So when they created the Constitution, pornography was prevalent in society and everything. The founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, had his parties, sex parties, stuff like that, or whatever. In France, getting money. He had women on the side, stuff like that. He had monarchy, people in power and stuff. Then people had access to these books, that would have, these books that would have adult material. And when the founders made, the Constitution, they were well aware about porn. It wasn't called porn back then. It was adult material. And everything. And they never said freedom of speech with the exception of adult material. Adult pictures, this or that. They never ever said that whatsoever. So, anyways, let me see. Let's talk about here. As it has been throughout history, pornography is once again countering and polite expressions as voted, etc. Let me see here. He said that this law has failed to keep minors away from sexual content. Oh, I see. He said this law has kept minors from sexual content, and has the chilling effect on adults. Let me see. Oh, they suing the states, or no, it doesn't. Can't just sue the states. They need to sue. You have to go. Can't sue lobbyists. Can't sue. I don't know where you're getting that from. Such as American Principles Project, Exodus Cry, and National, which by right wingers, religious group. You can't sue them. You can't just sue. What do you sue them for? Everybody has their agenda. Everyone has a right to fund whatever group they want to fund. They're anti-porn groups, and the thing is, you can't sue them just because they have a difference of opinion. Just because they donate to other causes, you can't do that. Because they are the ones you should see. You can't sue. You can't. Porn is degenerate and evil. Should be considered speech, but it is. But it is. I use my friends here. I'm allowed to use my friends. Let me see. the founders, some, I should say some. Oops. I can't spell right. I swear my keyboard and how, what I do need to build a new computer. I think it's latency, stuff like that. I don't know if I'm spelling this right. There's there enough. Okay. The thing is, it's still protected speech. It still is. I mean, it's been out there forever. I should have a lot more people than this watching this stuff. Let me see. Let me see. Stay on your side of the fence. Go for shut down. Shut down. Oh boy. I have to use my friends a bit, and there's some stuff that he puts on here that I don't like. But anyways, let's see. Let's see. That was 20 years. That was. Let's see. That was. I really want to. Well, that's it. This is it, isn't it? This is it right here. This is key. They had it coming. This is where they are totally correct. Well, you guys didn't offer any other solution to make minors, to make sure minors don't access that material. Well, you don't even ask. Do you know a lot of parents that are more tech savvy than 15-year-old? No. That's the problem. And Barrett even said that the law passed in Ashcroft 2 is outdated. The technology. They have a point. They have a huge point. These adult sites had it coming. When you cannot moderate your own sites, when you cannot protect, this, from children or from having underage material, stuff like this is going to happen. That is a fact. That is a fact. That is a fact. Let me see what else. As I see, you're delusional idiot. Yeah, that's true. Minors have access porn system. Well, yes, I was kidding. That's it. We did access this stuff. And all these saw in the neighborhood nude magazine. And in ways that's a lot different though. So that's different, those nudie magazines that me and others would go through, and even girls, even ladies I knew would go through stuff and everything. This only hurt sex workers. Yeah, that's the problem. And it's about stupid religious BS too. Let's see here. So additional, let's see. This actually, on the rack though, I mean, the stores were supposed to, they supposed to make sure. I looked older, and stuff. Or some kids' parents, they'd have that stuff. Some of them would have that stuff, so they could get in the mood to have sex and stuff like that. There's tapes and stuff like that. So I mean, in some ways it's a lot different, but most 50-year-old children don't know what a zip file, how to find it in their file manager. They don't know the zip file. I actually have zip files. Let's see, majority of parents raising their kids that age will be more knowledgeable. Kids these days are clueless about computers because kids these days are not clueless about computers unless they're just, well, it depends if you're just using the phone or just gaming, but that does depend. That is true. It's subjective because we stopped teaching them about computers. That could be true. That depends on the person. Let me see. If they paid me, if I got paid, I could be doing this all the time. Just about, but let's see. Let's try the effect on adults. Is the type. The new Federal Trade Commission commissioner is Catholic. That is a problem. Will you ban yourself completely from Texas, or do you have a solution that will not affect? What the hell is that? If they're fighting for us. Let's see. Right. Okay, so looks like that's it. Right there. Past production. Here's another thing right here. Let's see. This is, I'm like, let's see this. Let's see. Federal Trade Commission hosts pro-censorship. Great. This is where Project 2025 gets more and more credence in a lot of ways. Federal Trade Commission for pro-censorship event. Let me see. On Wednesday, June 4th. This from, okay, so this from Federal Trade Commission. This is from Free Speech Coalition. Wednesday, June 4th, U.S. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, hosted an event entitled The Attention Economy, How Big Tech Firms Exploit, what the fuck, the families the speakers held from a variety of religious, sorry, my nose itches, anti-porn organizations, including Heritage, what the fuck? Oh my god, those are fucking religious Christian groups. National Children Online Safety, American Principles Project, and Ethics. What they do is they make up these names and say it's for children, and even the lady in charge, one of the bitches in charge, she said that she wants porn all gone. She wants it all gone and destroyed, that it's nothing about, kids. It has nothing. She said that, she just wants it gone. I had a big tirade over Peter Bet David, some BS he and this lady put out and everything, and she said her husband could kill some people like us. I'm like, fuck you, bitch. Bring it. I dare you. I just dare you. Anyways, let's see. Purchase English Policy America's. God, let's see. The event was organized by newly installed FTC Senior Policy Advisor John Schlepp. Joyce or what? Schlepp. Schlepp or what? Anyways, who came to this role directly from the American Principles Project. where he advanced for age verification legislation. As a group, the policy director, Schlepp, made a point of mentioning that our friend Leigh Corby with the Age Verification Providers Association was in attendance. The topics from this pro-citizenship event. The topics of age verification and pornography came up many times over the course of the event. The Federal Trade Commission made it clear that it plans on using everything available in its toolbox to hold companies accountable for what children do online, including finding creative ways to take law enforcement action using existing newly passed laws. The FTC chairman specifically called for going beyond the current legal regime, which conditions unfettered access to online services on nothing more than an unverified self-reported birth date. Okay, so age verification spoke approvingly about state age verification laws targeting adult content. So that's where there should be like a slash here, where age verification is all about age verification, but it's about adult content that they are targeting. That's the thing. It's about getting rid of adult content, not age verification. If it was me and everybody else that's been around the adult industry and has done porn, X-rated work, etc., we'd be for it if it was just about age verification. But it's not. It's a bunch of bullshit. Throughout the event, FTC leadership and their allies made plain their intention to spread unconstitutional age verification policies nationwide and attack the adult industry's very right to exist. It's their existence. That's what it goes to. Nationwide age verification. There was a consensus among the panelists that state-based age verification laws does not satisfy their ultimate goals. A representative from the American Principles Project said, "There's really no reason." American Principles sounds like a conservative thing. Probably, let's see. There's really no reason why we should eventually get some sort of nationwide age verification legislation passed. And I'm very optimistic and hopeful that we'll get that soon. They always use that. They use that under the guise of age verification and keeping away from minors. It's not about that. It's about getting rid of adult content and porn and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with, protecting kids. It's not about that. Recognizing that they will face pushback to bills like the Screen Act, Family Policy Alliances, sounds like conservative, shared their strategy will be to leverage the recent bipartisan support for Take It Down Act. There's some good stuff, Take It Down Act, that I supported. Let's see. Telling the audience that when legislators did oppose Take It Down Act start coming up and opposing those bills, we have to be willing to poke and prod and figure out, okay, what's different about this? Because these objectives are all clearly easily intuitive. So why are you opposing this one but but not the other, you know. Of course, the stated goals of the bills are completely different, right? But this argument illuminates that the motivating force behind them is the same. Let's get rid of adult material and porn. Increase control over content that Americans can see and post online. Let's see. Vilifying the adult industry. From bizarre and unscientific claims about porn addiction. I mean, this is the thing. Is that you can get addicted to porn like you can get addicted to alcohol, you can get addicted to drugs, you could be addicted to foods, sweets, stuff like that, and everything else. Everything can become addictive, you know, if you abuse it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like sometimes I could do a much better job defending some of this stuff than some other people and stuff. And if they would put out that this isn't totally about age verification, because if it was, me and others would be totally on board with it. This is about also data mining our data, privacy. This also has to do with them wanting to get totally rid of porn. Period. They don't want it around. They want to go back where you have to do it underground, and you can't do it at all. This is about religious groups and religion. This is about religion attacking constitutionality, constitutional rights. This is about how these age verification laws and systems have hidden fees that people don't know about, and taxes where each time in these states you access an adult site, they get taxed and feed so much that they can no longer operate there because it bankrupts the sites. Everything. You know, and that's what I think they need to push. That's what they need to put in with that narrative as well. Let's see. That's rad. Let's see, okay. The porn industry is part of a larger overall sex industry, which includes prostitution, sex trafficking. They're all one and the same. No, we're not. It's that they want to make it criminal. That's the thing. And that's what stupid religious groups want to do and stuff. If people have something against porn, don't watch it. If it goes against your stupid religious views, keep practicing your religion, keep to your side of the fence, we'll keep to ours. I'll stay on my side of the fence, keep away from your people, have your people keep away from my people, etc. I'm not going to try and force you into anything. I'm not going to force content, pictures, and stuff on you. Anything you don't want to see. When people try and force their agendas and their religious, views on me, that's why I'm going to attack back and say something, So, I mean, largest sex industry, they are the biggest objector to this under the guise of free speech champions. And frankly, to be very honest here, they're some of the most nefarious actors. I'm not acting. I'm not getting paid. I feel like I should get paid to do some of this because I could be very good at it. But let's see. The profit off lies, off misery, off violence, let me tell you. Why aren't you going after people that commit felonies, robbers, murderers, real sex traffickers? Why aren't you going after them? Why aren't you going after people that are, doing stuff, bad stuff to kids and stuff like that? You're going after people that are doing stuff of legal age and stuff like that. The stuff that isn't legal, that's underage stuff, go after that. Definitely. Go after that. Go after them. Go after them. Attack, 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 I say. But when you attack us, when we're over the age of 18, we sign paperwork, we give consent, and we're getting paid just like our job. That's where I say, F you and stuff. Go after violent criminals. Why aren't you going after violent criminals? That's who opposes this. And they believe it's affirmative moral good that kids should go. No. This is a problem. A lot of us have said from the get-go that there should be age verification. We just don't want stupid government law enforcement going through everything that we look at. It's not supposed to be a dictatorship. And I don't trust law enforcement. I don't trust the government. I trust these adult sites, and they should have done their job. They didn't do their job. This is why this is happening. Let me see, which is why they refuse to collaborate. That's because you're draining their money. You're taking their money. That's all I think of these state laws. So are being put that is made explicitly or not. They know how dependent they are. No, that's not. No. You have to have a credit card, stuff like this and everything. Nah. Hell no. Underage people ain't, underage people ain't out, paying all this stuff. Let's see, and that's at the heart of this. It is about free speech. You guys have said yourselves, you want to get rid of porn and adult content, period. These religious groups, all these religious groups, the Heritage and Coast, those are religious Christian Catholic stuff. Family people that hate and want to destroy and get rid of porn. It's not about age verification. The lady said this herself. They've said it themselves. They want totally gone and destroyed. That shouldn't be out there. Okay, so let's see. So let's go here. Okay, banning porn. Labeling himself as part of a small but growing group of people who think that the Supreme Court cases establishing First Amendment protections for adult content were incorrectly decided. Family Policy Alliance representative revealed that he is doing some research into how we might be able to chip away at the efficacy and the precedent in order to ban sexually explicit content entirely, showing his poor grasp of science and even feebler understanding of the Constitution. Again, really? You remember former law made your house against it being legalized? Weed? Oh, and then he made money off it, making it grow. That's politicians. That's politicians. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle, they're fucking hypocrites. And they make money getting dough from donors that pay them to vote. They're making money and stuff like that from these donors as well, and everything. So, I mean, special interests, all this stuff and everything. So, let me see. Well, content, value, policy, alliance terms that revealed that he is doing some research. Yeah, okay. So, there's the Constitution. He trotted out the debunked but religious claim that pornography affects the brain similar to heroin. Pointed out. Only if you let it. Only if you let it. If you want to be controlled by porn, if you want to be controlled by it. And other stuff. It's going to happen. If you want to be controlled by fat foods, if you want to be controlled by Snickers bars, if you want to be controlled by Kool-Aid, if you want to be controlled by s'mores, if you want to be controlled by, cakes and stuff like that, you can be controlled by it. Fat foods, Doritos, etc., Cheetos. I mean, you can be controlled by that too. I mean, it get fat and excess weight, and everything, but you don't have. What the fuck is he talking about? And you don't have First Amendment right to access. Heroin is different. Heroin is different. A lot different. Alright, heroin's a lot fucking different than that. And some drugs can hijack your brains. That's the reason why I don't do that crazy shit. I've had people die from hardcore stuff. The only thing that I would do sometimes is marijuana, of course, and that's good to have sometimes, unless you have allergies and have bad reaction to it and everything. So I mean, it's like, but to use heroin as an excuse, you're pretty pathetic, though. You're very pathetic if you're using heroin as an escape, as an excuse. Porn has been around forever. And, the Founding Fathers could have said freedom of speech with exception to adult material to nudity. They never did. They never said you cannot make these nude pictures. You can't have these nude picture books. The Founding Fathers never said that. Never, ever said that. So, later, an associate dean from a right-wing Christian college opined, if we're going to keep self-government alive for the next 100 years, we're going to have to get serious about realizing that pornography has nothing to do with the religious right of speech to help each other be good. It's a totally different category. And we have to get there, and eventually we have to get the slowest of us, i.e. judges, to see that as well. The panelists also seem to see the Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton Supreme Court case as a stepping stone to their goal of banning pornography by overturning prior precedent, theorizing that if Free Speech Coalition loses, which they did, it will clear the way, which it will. Let's see, this should just take it, ask palace around the world. Take it down. I want to see I wonder what they said about take it down. Because with every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction to everything. So that would take away 230. Yeah, there's a whole plethora of I need to. If I could do more law stuff without getting migraines, I would do it. Without, if I could do law without, hold on, all right, good. I have that here. I could go here. I could. So there's a lot of stuff here. A lot. I mean, cell phones already data mine us with each app, but let's see here. Privacy Protection Act, etc., Section 5, the authority. But I think I need to pick and choose when I go through and look at this stuff, because everybody, I have my own opinions on certain things from Free Speech Coalition. So let me see. And I feel like I don't want to get into something that I have not prepared for. But I think I might stop this one right here and then maybe do some UFO stuff maybe. I just had to do this as well. I had to put this on my OnlyFans because I want the ladies to see this, the people on there to see it. Even though it's mostly closed, I'm going to put that out there so as well. So anyways, yeah, me and my ADD stuff too, unless something catches me and hypnotizes me, I cannot keep on one thing. I'm all over the place doing all kinds of stuff. And the thing is, as much as this is passionate for me, this is, passion of mine is constitutional law and everything, and our rights, our civil rights and everything, all that other stuff, is that I know that when it comes to UFOs, ETs, stuff like that, in the truth, that we have to force that up to us to force the truth out. Because the government doesn't want to. People in Congress don't care to put the truth out about it. They don't. So we're going to have to do it ourselves. We have to fight. Anyways, I think I'll end this stream right here, and I'll be back in about a few minutes and start some paranormal UFO stuff, I think. Everyone else that has anything they want to put in about this, leave a comment, leave a like, tell me what you think as well, because I know that's going to get worse. And, minors shouldn't be accessing these porn sites. But these people that have this want to do away with porn, period. It's not about minors so much. There's a lot of stuff to take away from this. And a lot of it, unfortunately, of course, is the porn site's fault. They